Oh wait, about this and bring more people here.
Yeah, hold on, I'll do that.
Well, hi everybody.
I'll go right now.
Great timing. It's okay. It's fine.
One moment, please.
Sorry.
Spell. I'm on my mom's computer because mine is still being fixed, and I'm just like, what is going on? Well, hi. If anyone's here.
Darian, take over.
Yeah, hello, welcome to my channel. I am the redhead reader.
Whoa, you look so different than I imagined.
As you can see.
Well. So let's go around, like, introduce ourselves and maybe say our star rating of the Nightingale by Kristin Hannah.
Yes.
I'll start, I guess. I'm Sasha. This is my channel, The Redhead Reader, and I give this 5 out of 5 stars. It is my new favorite book of all time.
Ugh, I love
no
that.
Pressure.
Pressure.
That made me so happy when I saw that. I'm Darian from Darian Reads, and I gave it 4.5 stars.
Ooh. I'm Rachel. My channel's called Let Me in the Library. I gave it 2 stars. No, I'm kidding. I did not. I don't know, because I really just finished the book, but I guess I'm leaning around like 4 stars, I think.
Okay.
I'll accept that.
I guess I can go into a brief little synopsis on like what it's about.
Yes.
It is about these 2 sisters that are kind of separated by a big age gap, and they're both doing different things in France to help with. I'm sorry, I'm very tired. To help aid the resistance toward the Nazi-occupied France in World War II. That is it.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry.
No, it's okay. That's it. You got it.
Hello.
Cannot wait to discuss how much I cried. Okay, very interesting.
How you did it. Anyway, it's fine. What do we want to talk about first? I don't do these very often.
Do we just want to go straight into spoilers? Do we want to keep it spoiler free a little bit?
Do you guys want to say, like, you know, like, who was your favorite character? What was your favorite part? Before we get into the whole, like, why did you guys even cry? I don't know.
Well, I don't understand how you did it.
I can't.
I don't get what was said. I don't. Okay, well, you go first.
What was sad? What are you talking about? Okay, it's fine. What are we talking about?
Our favorite character?
Oh, okay. That's a good question.
It's a really hard question for me because I love everyone.
I don't love Vianne. I did not like her.
Oh, really?
Well, okay, I didn't dislike her, but I just, like, she got on my nerves a lot.
She was annoying.
Yeah.
I mean, she was low-key kind of like this Nazi a lot. And I was like,
yeah,
he is a Nazi.
But that turned out okay. Isabel, I loved her so much, so I think she's probably my favorite.
Like, if I agree, it would probably be Isabel as well.
Isabel's great.
Yes, I will never be over this. I genuinely don't think I will be.
Yeah, just thinking about it makes me want to cry.
I finished it in the parking lot of a grocery store while Noah was in the grocery store, and I was just like sobbing, and then Noah came back and he was like,
are you okay?
Are you good?
And then I was just like crying the whole way home and like talking about it, and I was like, it just really broke me. And he was like, okay.
Yeah.
It was emotional, a lot.
Which parts did you find the most? I mean, like you could talk about like your favorite part, I guess, but also like which parts do you feel like broke you the most?
Where do I start? Oh, I gave it 4. Well, you already know this, but I gave it 4.5.
5. I would give it
Stars.
6 if I could.
Sasha's here, ready to go.
Yes, Kirsten. Thank you very much.
Kristin Hannah, the queen of Kristin Hannah herself.
Mm-hmm. Grace our live show.
Yeah, we're so on.
What part broke us? Was that the question?
Well, what's your favorite part first?
Okay.
Were there good parts? Because you guys just seem so sad.
Well, yeah. Was there any time I was happy? I don't think so.
I loved the part where they like attacked the Nazi in the backyard.
That was
like,
pretty.
With a shovel, with a gun.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, that was cool.
Nice.
Love that.
I think my favorite part was Isabel's first trek over the Pyrenees Mountains. I think that was probably my favorite part because she was just so brave. So strong.
I love her.
All the guys were like, okay, I can do it if this little girl's doing it. And it was just like, it was kind of fun. Like, it wasn't like given the circumstances, but like I feel like it did sort of lighten the mood a little bit because she was like, wow, come on, hurry up.
Yeah.
Just like go off. So I love that.
And then she did it 27 times.
And then she did it 27 times. Like, hello?
I could never.
She was just incredible.
Meanwhile, Vianne is just like, oh, I guess I'll give this list of my friend to this guy.
Okay, yeah. When she did that, I was like, make better choices. Like,
yeah, I was, how could you not think like this might be bad?
Like, I understand, like, toward the end, she did start doing, like, good things and all this stuff. But, like, at the beginning, I was just like, you are a really shit person.
You're the worst.
Like, I don't like you. But she did start to grow on me toward the end of the book. I do feel like we connected a little more. But I was literally like, why?
Yeah. Yes, she did.
Yeah.
But it just like it wasn't like till a long time into the war. Whereas Isabel was like, all right, like let's fight Nazis, like literally day 1. And I was just like, this is why I'm in love with you.
Yeah. Ugh.
Yep. And this part was big confusion.
It was.
Yep.
Yeah, she made some choices. Don't agree with. But she kind of like turned it around by the end, considering that. I mean, okay, in full spoilery territory, at the very end, when she enters this room and everyone's like, "Oh my god, a hero!" And then her son is like, "What'd you do, Mom?" And she's like, "I survived." I'm like, you said a lot more than that.
Yeah. Okay, wait. I have a question. Because you know how like the book starts with like the present, I guess, and we don't really know whose perspective it is. Did you guys guess it was Vianne or did you think it was Isabel?
I knew it was Vianne from the beginning.
Oh, I thought it was Vianne also. I was like, they're trying to trick me. It's Vianne.
I didn't feel tricked at all. I thought and they just started telling the story of Vianne. And I was like, okay, so it's Vianne. And then they were like, here's an Isabel character. And I was like, all right, it's Vianne's sister. No mystery. Well, I don't know. It didn't seem like a mystery.
What, Sasha?
I'm just not as smart as you guys said because I was like, oh, it's Isabel. And I was like, why didn't she marry Gaten? Like, why are they in the United States? And then I was like, it's fine, we'll figure it out. And that's what at the end.
Because like at one point, I think at the beginning, like she finds like her old like carte d'identité with Juliette or whatever. I think it was Juliette, her name. And I was like, okay, but this is where they make us think that it's Isabel. Well, I was like, I don't trust anything books tell me. So I was like, I see what you're doing. And then I was like, well, if Vianne like lives, then I bet Isabel's gonna die.
That's why I was sobbing. It was Isabel, and I was really disappointed.
I unfortunately got a spoiler for this book very early on, where I like Googled something for my TBR, and I was just like, "Does the Nightingale take place during World War II or like something like that?" And it was just like, "This person dies," and I was like, "I didn't ask you for that." So that could be why I just chose not to get attached to anybody.
Oh.
So I'm sorry, I did not have the full experience this time around.
It's better than a 1-star. I'll take it.
Yeah.
It's not a 1-star. It was still a great book.
Yeah.
Oh
The
my
first time I cried was with Sarah.
Oh,
yes.
The problem with that, I was at work when I read. So I was just like, okay, bottle up your feelings. And so I was just like, all right, like I am stone cold. Like, I don't care that this child just died in front of me. I was just like, this is fine. And then I processed it a little bit different than I probably would have if I was like home. So I didn't cry for that, but like I really couldn't, because I was just like trying to help people with their animals. I couldn't just be like, yeah. Like, you know what I mean? So like I had to process that a little differently.
Yeah, like when they started shooting, I was like, well, this is where Rachel is gonna die. Like, okay, like I accept it. And then like Sarah was shot, and I was like, oh, no, that's not what's about to happen. And then she died. I was like, and I was reading it, and I was just like yelling, and my mom was like, "Are you okay?" And I just was like,
No.
Oh my god,
it was hard. It was hard. I was struggling.
Since I'm tired, I keep like tearing up.
So, you know, me too.
Thinking about this book makes me so sad. It's cool. We're great over here. Rachel's like,
yep. Good for you guys.
Oh god,
that's so funny.
Sad.
I don't know. I guess I know that the way that I interact with books when I read them physically is extremely different from when I process them through audio. So I don't really think it's that I'm a stone cold bitch and none of this stuff means anything to me and it's just war. But I like the audiobook was fantastic because they do all like the different voices and everything. And like the stuff that I think was like most emotional for me was kind of like when I think his real name's like Ari, but like Danielle gets like separated, and like all of that stuff is done in the narration of like does like the little like children's voices so well. So for like everybody, yeah, you guys would be sobbing. Like you would not be at this show if you had listened to the audiobook with the book itself.
Oh my god, that just made me so sad.
Yeah, and then when he's just like, "No, Mama, I don't want to go," and she's like, "You have to. It's my duty as a mother to tell him to go, even though I don't want him to." And he's just like, "Mama, I don't want to." I'm like, "Oh."
Oh my god, I'm like, that made me so sad. When I read that part, I was just like, no.
I think that my tears like began was at that
point. I felt very bad for them, but it also kind of just seemed like what are the like 100 terrible things that we can do to these people, and then all of them happen during this book.
Well, I mean, like, it's war.
Like, no, it is, but that's, I mean, like, in terms of like, okay, people are gonna die, people that you know and care about are gonna be persecuted. I was like, okay, I'm kind of like expecting that part for Isabel and her father to be taken into like custody and questioned was very painful, and then to see him basically like just be taken out to a firing squad because they wouldn't believe that Isabel was really the Nightingale and he had to take the fall for her. Not like a fun time, but still. And then when they went home, it was like, let's just make everything worse. We'll put another Nazi in your home and we'll have him sexually assault you, and then you have to have his child. And then also we'll just take your other child that you adopted from your best friend who died and all of her family died. We'll just take him away too. Because like, what? Why not? Why not?
I don't know. For me,
It was so like they just did so many things to them. I was like, this is not deserved.
for me,
So sad.
for me, like it just kind of showed how, like it showed like the really raw parts of like war, because I was like, because when I've read like World War II books before, it's never gotten like that descriptive and that like into everything. But this was like the first one I read that was like, okay, like this is what's happening and literally nothing good is going on. And it was like, I don't know, like I liked that. I feel like if they added like these little like good things, I would have been like, that's not really realistic, because like nothing good happened at that time, especially in Nazi occupied France. Like
Right.
it was a really rough place to be. I don't know. That's like, that was where my thought process was. But I was like, nobody deserves to be happy. It's like everybody's going to be sad. That's what it is.
I mean, like, I totally agree. I think it's just that, like, I went in with the expectation of, like, this is going to be very painful for all the characters involved. And then they just made it, like, you know, worse than I would expect. Because for me, I would just think of, like, if it's Nazi-occupied France, I know, like, vaguely what that probably would mean in terms of a war sense. But in terms of, like, having to live in the same home with a Nazi, even, like, the first Nazi that showed up, who, like, technically was like helpful to their family and stuff like that, it still creates all these very mixed feelings for Vienne, who is kind of like, my husband isn't here and this guy basically has become like the man of the house and he's very helpful to me, but he's still a Nazi. So what am I supposed to do here? Because like everyone sort of has to genuflect towards all of the soldiers and act like, oh, it's such an honor that you're staying in my home. And meanwhile, you know, Isabel is very upfront, like, I hate your guts. I'm not even going to pretend. Like, how dare you have like a Nazi living in our home? Kick him out. And she's like, I can't do that. And I think it kind of shows like the different ways that people react to, I wouldn't say like necessarily like a war situation, but like conflict, I guess. So like some people are very like upfront and head on, and sometimes they can take that goal all the way to the end, like Isabel, and become the Nightingale. And then I think other people are more like Vienne, and they're kind of like the Nightingale in their own more subtle way, where they still toe the line and they stay under the radar, but they actually still save, like she saved 19 children, and all of them grew up and went to America or elsewhere, but they grew up and they started their own families, and that wouldn't have been possible without her.
Yeah, definitely.
So I definitely found like both characters to be very interesting, because I think Isabel is much easier for us to like, and Vienne,
Absolutely,
you know, having done that stuff with the list and giving it up to like giving up her best friend's name and being like, it's for clerical purposes. I was like, girl, you can't believe this. What year is it? How can you believe this? Like, no. But there she was. But she sort of like redeemed herself despite that. And I think that she always has to live with the guilt that she was a part of the reason that Rachel died.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you.
I don't care, but I hear her.
No. But here I am.
TV, you always know what to say.
You
Like,
know how to make us feel special.
if we ever want to lighten up the mood, we just have TB come in, because he's just so funny. Oh my god.
Did you guys think that it would be like a very different story if it was actually narrated by Isabel rather than Vienne, in terms of like the present timeline, if it had been different?
I do.
Yeah. I just don't see how, like, after, like, as I was reading it, I just couldn't see a possible way that Isabel survived. Like, after everything she went through, I was like, like, they're not gonna let her, you know, run off into the sunset at the end. Like, they're gonna they're gonna kill this girl.
That's literally all I wanted to happen.
What?
That's literally all I wanted. I
know.
To
I just
wanted to be happy, and then
yeah, I know.
my heart is brutal.
I know. I know. Yeah.
Yeah.
Ugh.
It's very true.
I think, Isabel is kind of like a pure character in terms of like, we have the children that are in the story and they're very pure and they're very innocent. But Isabel is more of like a pure adult in terms of just channeling all of her emotions and anger and fear into this one thing that she can do. And in a way, she's sort of like a martyr for the cause, because I just think that, like, from a narrative perspective, it's very unlikely that the pure character in a tragic, Nazi occupied France historical novel usually makes it out the other end, because she still remains like the, even being called by her name, but being called like the Nightingale is like this elusive figure. But it's sort of one of those things that's like never meant to last forever, and she doesn't get to live out her years as an old woman. But it's very sad to see her, and she said something like she wanted to say like don't forget me, but she didn't have the strength to. And I think that like very much encapsulates that like nobody really would forget her, but she was still just one person, and it was just the amount of people that she saved and the effect that she had on everybody that was left that really like carried her memory for the rest of the time.
And I think Vianne even said like, oh, she mumbled something that no one heard and then she died. And I was like, well,
yeah,
that's good.
It's like, you know what it is. Yeah.
Sad. And like her time in the concentration camp, like that also really made me emotional, because like my grandma was in a concentration camp during World War II, so like I just kind of like was thinking about her in that situation. I was like, well, this is fun times.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
It's hard. It would be difficult, like, if you have like that kind of connection to it. Like, I can't even imagine. Like, I probably wouldn't have even been able to read it because it was so brutal at some times, and I was just like, it's like I can't. Like, this is a lot. This is a lot to take in.
Yeah, and I was like, because my mom loves reading like historical books, so I was like, you should read this, but also like
maybe don't.
It'll make you very emotional because it was like her mom, so I know she'll like really be affected by that. But yeah,
definitely.
Yeah. It was just a fun time all around.
It was.
Oh my gosh.
I had a revelation at the end of the book. Like, before it was like, okay, it wasn't really a revelation because it was like 3 pages before it was revealed. But
okay.
But about Julian and how he was like the Nazis' baby. I didn't realize, I didn't connect that because I thought it was Isabel. Like, the whole time I was thinking the president was Isabel. So like I didn't connect it. And then I was just like reading along. And then I just went for like a good like minute and a half. And I was just sitting there and I was like, oh my God. I was like, oh my God. And then like it all made sense. And I was just like, I just hated it so much. But like,
yeah, you just named him after her dad.
Yeah.
We can't talk about that. We also can't talk about how Gaetan, like, I don't know how to say his name.
Gaetan,
yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I do not. When he said he named his child after Isabel.
Goodbye.
I was like, oh, she would have loved that. Like sobbing in my car. Like, if anybody walked by, they would have been like, she's going through something. It's so brutal. Oh my God.
Like, I just imagine that pain. Just imagine the conversation between him and his wife. Just be like, can we name our daughter after my love who died in World War II? And she's like, okay.
I'm sure that's exactly how it went. Like, okay.
Oh God. I feel like I would leave that part out. I'd be like, yeah, like this person like meant a lot to me at a time. Can we name her? Instead of being like, yeah, I banged her.
I I really don't think he said
My
that.
daughter. Like,
Oh my
kind of like, but yeah. Anyway, sorry.
god.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, that was like literally my thought process where I was like, like I guess that's sweet, but it's also kind of weird to name like your child after somebody that you've slept with.
It's fine. We
Like,
don't think about it.
I went through that like after. Like
Yeah.
at first I was just like, this is literally beauty and grace and everything. I just yes. And I was
I just skipped that step. I haven't gotten there yet.
but then I was like, that's kind of icky. But then I was like, it's fine.
TV's gone. Oh my god.
Oh my God,
Why?
I love it.
TV, why aren't you on this show? That's a question.
TV needs to be an honorary whiner.
Yeah,
Oh,
Like,
God.
amazing.
But yeah, like,
What did you guys think about near the end when they were explaining that, like Julian was kind of saying like, you never told me any of this stuff, and Vienne was like, men tell stories, but women just get on with it.
mm,
Do you think that that's like accurate to say, or do you think that it's kind of like just sort of one of those things that like an old person says and you're like,
grandma.
yeah.
I mean, I think it's pretty accurate for me personally. Well, obviously, like I've never gone through something like that, but like I feel like I would just be telling my story all the time. I feel like I would just be like, "This is what I went through," but like
You have to respect me.
in general, I feel like that's true. But for me, I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. It's hard to say because part of me thinks like, yes, it is true, but also part of me is just like, I feel like as a society we've moved past the fact that like, or like we're trying to move past the fact that like men can get all the glory and then women just kind of have to be like, yeah, I did that, but like let's talk about you. You know, like I feel like as a society we're moving past that, whether or not it's quickly or slowly. It you know, it is what it is, but I feel like we're moving past it. But I think the present was 2005. And so it wasn't like technically the present. So I do feel like at that stage of life, it would probably be accurate, or at least more accurate than it is now.
Yeah.
Okay. I guess speaking of like, I think I kind of just went in with certain expectations of how like men and women would behave and react in this story. So I was actually very surprised when their father Julian, not like the son, sort of ended up kind of being like, I know what you're doing as the Nightingale to Isabel, and then kind of like helping her. Because I don't know why I just sort of expected him to be like, it's not safe, you have to stop it, or like whatever it was. And instead it seemed more like, this is that one thing that I will support you in, despite like this very tense relationship that they had. But it was something that was worthwhile in doing. And I think he kind of saw um, the meaning in it, in that she really wasn't going to be stopped anyway. And so the best thing that he could do was to help her along with it, and in the end take the fall for her.
Yeah.
Yeah. I really sorry.
Go ahead, so sorry.
I really loved him as a character, like not as a person per se, but like I thought he was written, like I found him really interesting how like at first you're just like, well, I hate this guy, but then you see that he's like really trying to kind of make up for like the years that he lost as a father, and he was like, well, like I'm gonna do literally the ultimate sacrifice to save my kid. And like her watching, like the fact that she watched him die, like oh my god, I don't know, I thought his whole like arc was just very interesting.
I really liked their relationship, like the progression of their relationship. I thought like Isabel and Julian was really, really interesting. I really enjoyed that. Just because not everything, like it showed like there could be like not a silver lining, but like there could be these like little tiny positive things that come out of a really negative situation. Like they started to build this bond together where they were like, okay, we hate the Nazis. And then they were like, oh, you hate the Nazis? Like, let's
family bonding.
Yeah, exactly. So it was, I just really liked that progression, especially toward the end, like where he like made that sacrifice. I was just like, damn, like that was a great story arc. Like, I love that.
Yeah.
I was also wondering what you guys think about Beck from a character perspective, because I think it's very easy for us to just be like, well, he was a Nazi, therefore bad, the end. But I thought that it was very strange, the sort of like relationship that he and Vianne had, because it sort of seemed like they both had feelings for each other despite having like their own separate families and feeling like, we're on opposite sides sort of. And for a time I was a little bit concerned that this was going to be like a Nazi romance, and I was like, I don't want to read about that.
Yeah.
But it seemed like he kind of like went much more like above and beyond than other people to help like that entire family and all the different things that they wanted to do. But like, do you guys actually think that he was like a good person as much as one could be, or was he kind of just like lying to her face and then like supplying her with different things to appease her? Because he asked for, like they asked for the list, and then she was like, you said it was just for this, and he's like, oh, orders have changed, like I can't do anything about it. But you kind of have to wonder, like, is any of that true? Because it's very easy from from us here in the present to look back and say like, obviously he was a bad person, because nowadays we know like Nazis are evil and here's the situation. But from a character perspective, I think it's interesting to reflect and wonder, like, was he at all trying to be helpful and trying to be a good person and like minimize the amount of pain, or at least try to ease that family that he was stuck staying with by like delivering those care packages and kind of trying to provide some comfort while still knowing that like, this is my job and I have to basically kill people or lead them to death one way or another. Perspectives.
Like, for me, Beck I was very hot and cold on his character. Like, at first, I was like, oh, we have to deal with this. We have to learn about this Nazi. Like, that's not what I wanted. And then I was like, okay, like, it kind of shows the fact that, like, not everybody fighting on that side was, like, actively going into it knowing that it was going to turn out that severely.
Mm-hmm.
Like, because he had his family and he talked about it, and he talked about how he wanted to go home and all this stuff and how he just wanted this to end. And I genuinely believe he did. But then when he put his jacket on and got on that motorcycle, I feel like a switch turned on in his brain where he was just like, all right, I have to do this or I won't get to see my family, kind of thing. And so he's like, let's go, let's do this. And I feel like anybody who fought on that side, it starts to make you into a not great person, because a lot of things were done that just like, even if I was put in like a really dire situation, like I don't know if I would be able to do it. Like I don't know if I would just be like, okay, you can just kill me because I don't want to do this. Like I don't want this on my hands. But for him, I don't know. It was weird. Like I don't feel like he was a great person. I don't think anybody who fought on that side was like great, but there is a lot of depth to the people that did fight on that side. Not Von Richter. He was not a very depth person. He was just like,
he was simple and terrible.
Power. That's it. But like there is depth. Like not every single Nazi going into it is a Von Richter character. And like I feel like that's how everybody thinks of them. That's how I think of them. But like it took a little bit of time for me to be like, oh, okay, like he's, there's something else to him besides just being a Nazi. Obviously that outweighs everything else. But like it was interesting to see a bit of depth to his character.
Yeah, because I think it's very true that we tend to simplify that situation and just say like, oh, like I would totally be in the resistance. I would sacrifice my life because it's the right thing to do. Like that's easy to say when you don't have to do anything and you could just look back and say that would be me, but you really don't have any evidence that you could do that because you really like don't know what you would do until you're in that situation.
Yeah.
And especially if you were placed not in like the French resistance, but if you were placed in like Nazi Germany and you had to be in the position that's kind of like Beck, it's hard to say what you would really do. And I feel like, you know, he sort of like did what little he could to revolutionize, I guess, like as much of this resistance as he could to just allow for them to keep doing what they were doing. And I think like, I don't remember exactly what happened, but there was a scene where like he saw something he wasn't supposed to, like I think like the radio or like something like that. And they just acted like it's kind of fine. Like we're not going to arrest you for it or anything like that. Like we have to take it away, but we won't like persecute you and stuff like that. And that was sort of like the beginning of showing he was like a slightly more sympathetic character than like obviously the terrible, forgot his name, terrible guy who came after that.
Yeah.
Because he was just like a full characterized like villain Nazi. And I think that like this, you know, Kristin Hannah did a pretty good job of like creating depth to the different characters and not just being like, let's just fight evil people. So it's an easy choice to make to be in the resistance, but to allow for there to be a more, I guess like wavy, handshakey character on his morality makes it so that Vienne has to make that choice actively to find her own way of resisting rather than just saying like, it's the right thing to do, but I don't want to. You know, it actually adds more depth to her character, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like with Beck, like I mean at first, like I think you both said, like at first I was like, okay, no, we don't like him.
Right.
There was like things he did and I was like, do I like him? But I don't want to. And like obviously I didn't love that they seemed to be attracted to each other, but also like considering the fact that they had probably been away from their spouses for like a really long time and they were really lonely, like I could and obviously like you can't always control who you're attracted to, so like if they're like I can understand that after being alone for so long and now there's like a whole man in your house, like I can kind of
man.
like being like and he's like kind of nice sometimes, and then like also like when he was looking for like whoever took the airman, who was obviously Isabel, like, and he was like so upset and stressed because they were probably gonna kill him if he didn't find them. So like he wasn't thinking like, oh, this poor person that I'm gonna find, they probably don't deserve to be tortured or killed, but like he's only thinking of himself, which like makes sense when you're in a war. Like he just wants to survive to get back to his family. So like obviously it just it's like I don't like him, but also like I can understand to a certain extent, but also like it's just very complicated. I don't think there's like
I mean, I think the real villainy lies in the fact that it's a structure that forced people to make bad decisions to hurt other people, because if they did not do that, then their own livelihood and their own families were being threatened. And that was, you know, obvious from the way that they behave. And some people leaned into that like power hungry feeling of knowing that they could basically just do whatever they want and completely abuse people. And then other people were more reluctant, but still it's so hard to go against the grain, I think, that what both Beck and the other dude does, they both like make sense in their own right in terms of like the sort of person that you would be born into that time on that side. So yeah, like I totally agree with what you're saying, where it's just sort of like you can be as nice of a person as whatever, but when it comes down to it, when he has to make that choice of like it's you or me, then it kind of makes sense in terms of that self-preservation that he would do that. And I don't necessarily think that's like, look at what a selfish character he was, but it's more of like he's still a product of the system that he was a part of, and nothing was really going to change that. And I don't even think if he was separated from it, that he could like fully get rid of that part of himself, because being stuck in wartime on either side, it's all about preservation. But I think also like the idea of what that means is so different, because some people were like, there are this many people in the streets, including people living in my house, that could kill me at any time. And then the people occupying the houses are like, my superior could hurt me. And it's that like power dynamic there.
Absolutely. For me, like going back a little bit to like Vian and Beck, they Vian was a product of the time. Like most women were used to leaning on men and like being supported. And so when this new man came into her house, she was just like, okay, like I don't like him, like he's just there. But then as the time went on, she was like, okay, he's helpful. He's doing what Antoine would do in certain situations. So I feel like their attraction wasn't real. I feel like it was a product of the situation. Like he was with an attractive woman, probably reminded him a little bit of his wife because she was a great mom and she was all.
Oh no.
And I feel like he was like, okay, like, like he reminds me of this, or she reminds me of this person at home. And then she was like, okay, he kind of reminds me of Antoine in the way that he's helping take care of us and be there for us. And so I don't necessarily think their attraction was real. I just think it was like a product of the situation. Like they were both at such vulnerable points of their life, and they now had these attractive people to kind of be there for them. And it was just kind of like, this is easy. It's easy to be with you. It's easy to want to be with you. But I don't necessarily think like at any other point in their life would they have like walked by each other on the street and been like, oh my God, hello. Like I don't think that. I just think it was a product of the situation.
Yeah.
I think it's also very easy in their situation to make excuses
Yeah.
that it's like, oh, they're just like this person, they're just like that person. But like you're saying, it's really more of like stuck in proximity, and just feeling like, I have to find the best possible way to survive the situation. And if that involves, not, I don't know, I think hate is very insidious and it can just like completely ruin your life. And they, even in a way that we might not say like is the best possible way to go about it, again, judging from a perspective that we would never really know, it's hard to say that they didn't really do the right thing to survive all the way through. But I think kind of like you're saying, it was sort of like, we have this attraction, and then when he was like, I have to go after that guy, that's sort of like when everything broke apart and Vian kind of realized like, I have to make a choice right now on who I choose, and I cannot forget who this guy really is, because everything else is a pretty lie that I've been telling myself, and he's probably been telling himself as well. And now it's time to actually make a choice.
Yeah. There were definitely certain parts where it's still like it was so clear which side both of them were on. And I feel like it kind of broke up their like nice little happy family, because they were just like, oh, like especially when Vian saw him at the train station with the like baton, and he was just like, wow. And
yeah, she was like, I can't forget.
He was like, what the hell? Like, this is not this. No. So I feel like there were those little moments where they were just kind of like, okay, hold on. This isn't right. But like overall, like the majority of the time they spent together, it was just kind of like they were a family. And I feel like she got lucky having Beck in her home, because some of the other ones like Von Richter were just pure evil, like personified pure evil. Whereas Beck was just like, okay, I want to be supportive to the people I'm billeting with. So it was just like, it was just a product of the situation.
Well, speaking of that, now that we finally know his name, Von Richter, what did you guys think about Vian's choice not to tell Antoine about, I guess, Julian, or who ends up being Julian?
I still don't know. Like, my initial reaction was that I was upset, because I just generally don't like keeping things from people and lying. So like I mean, obviously I don't know how I would react in the situation, but I feel like I would tell Antoine, because I don't know, that's just who I am, is like, I don't like, even though it's to protect him, like I completely understand why she did it. So at first I was like, oh my God, she should tell him, like, this is important. But also, like, I understood, like, her kind of shielding that pain from him, because then he would always know, like, even though he is his son, like, it's not biologically his son, and he would know, like, where he came from, I guess, and how that would hurt him. But also, like, Vianne had to live her life knowing that. So, like, that could have been something that they, like, a pain that they shared, I guess. I don't know. I don't know if there's, like, a right answer because
I don't think there is.
I don't know.
It's more of just
I
like
felt like it was a very VN thing to do by the end, like now with the kind of character that she had, and deciding, like, again, I don't know how much of this is really like her character by itself, or it's the reflection of the guilt that she feels from, you know, her part in other people being persecuted. But it just seemed like every little thing that I can do to protect the people around me as the sort of like mothering figure, I'm going to do that, even if it hurts me. And I think it was just like very in line with her character because, like, I thought it was very weird when Antoine came home and he was like, I was thinking about you in your little white dress. And she was like, I don't want to talk about that right now. Like, yay. And like, I understand that generally, like, people need to get through whatever situation that they do in whatever way it is. But, you know, it was very hard for her, obviously. And in very different ways, like they were both going through their own kind of torture. But you know, I think nowadays it's much more acceptable to talk about that kind of stuff. But I'm sure during that present time, it sort of would like really, really fully like break a family. And even nowadays, it's very possible for that to happen. And she wanted to avoid any kind of future conflict of like, we've been through enough. And if this has to like further break us, this is the only thing we really have left in each other. So if this is something that has to die with me, then that's fine. And I think that, you know, that's also kind of what she's saying at the end when Julian, you know, the child Julian is like, oh, you didn't tell me. And she's like, oh, I'll tell you almost everything. And she's being coy where it's like, oh, a French woman has to keep her secrets. But like, she literally does because it's the only way to, you know, keep things as in balance as she can.
Yeah.
I respected her choice. Like at first I was a little bit like, whoa, you know, because like honesty. But like after everything that they've both been through, I kind of respected where she was like, okay, they're just starting to get their equilibrium back. Like bringing in this new factor would just probably devastate them, especially in that time where it was seen to like a woman could only be with one person. And like even if it was by force being with another, a lot of guys would have been like, okay, well, you're dirty. So like I don't want to have anything to do with that. And so I feel like I understood and I respected her decision after the initial like confusion of it. And then I was kind of like, I had to take a little bit of a breather and I was like, okay, I respect it. And like, that's really it. Like, I think she made the right decision for her and her family. And every situation like that is very different. And it's hard to like have an opinion on that unless you've been in that situation. So all we can really do is either not like her character and then not like that decision, or we can, you know, respect her character and respect the decision moving forward. I feel like that's like the only way you can like justify it. I don't know. Yeah. Well, I know, Rachel, you have to go early. And that's fine because I also have to go to work in a half hour. I know, like life is being fun. Do we have any closing thoughts or anything we want to say before we wrap it up, just so that I can like brush my teeth and leave?
I don't think so.
No.
What about you? Will say sorry.
Oh, no, my God, go.
I will say I was happy that it seemed that, unless Kristin Hannah is actually French and I don't know, but it seemed like she did her research properly, because I was like, thank you. This is not another serpent and dove situation.
Oh, la baguette.
Yeah.
That's all.
Like, she researched this really well.
Yeah.
Like, she put a lot of time and effort into this story. And this surpassed the Nowhere Girls for me. Like, it just, like, it took over. I was just like, oh my God, this is everything. So, I am
excited to read her other books.
Oh my God, me too. I think I added like all of them to my TBR. I was like, this is great. I don't care if I don't like the premise. Like, I'm just going to read it all. Yeah. So, we'll see how that goes.
She has such a beautiful writing style. So I definitely want to read more of her stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, I can confirm Casey was very mad at me.
Casey.
And I was like, I didn't pick it, Sasha picked it.
I'm so sorry. But like I'm also not because I found a new favorite story. So like
Yeah.
We all suffered together. Well, you guys suffered. I was just here. So.
I was just here.
I still can't. I cannot.
I mean, I just kept getting messages from people who were like, I was crying, and like sending pictures of them crying, and I was like, okay.
Yeah, like you messaged me and you were like, is it sad? And I was like, is it sad? What do you mean?
Mary's one of the worst people to ask that because like everything is like everything makes Darian emotional. Like everything. So like you asked, like you guys are like so different in that. Like that was like a mistake on your part because you were like, oh, like it's sad, and then you were like, it's not. But like, oh my god, like I feel like you should have asked someone else.
Okay, well, I will say, because, you know, this is a whiner show, I really liked Isabel the way that I liked Diana in The Strange Case of the Alchemist's Daughter. So I was like, ooh, we love like a fiery hothead character person, right? So I was like, okay, maybe I can trust Darian this time. Maybe. I don't know.
Wow.
But I mean, there were several other people who were talking about, like, you know, how sad the book was and different things. And I was like, this is a sad thing objectively, but
yeah, oh my god,
my eyes are fine. Like, I don't.
My eyes were not fine.
Not either. It was not a good time.
Oh my god.
Sorry,
No.
guys. Maybe one day I'll have emotions, but we can talk about it whenever that happens.
That's fine.
Um,
Okay, well, thank you guys for showing up and being a part of this.
yes. Next month we're gonna do "Darling" by Kay Ankrum.
Yeah, it's
I
a
got
really
that right?
yes. I believe it is a queer Peter Pan retelling. So I'm so excited for that. So that is on Amanda's channel. Everybody's linked in the description. So if you're not subscribed to Amanda, subscribe so that you can see the live show for that. And
Order, I'm ready.
I'm so ready. And then at the next live show, we will probably have our next few picks so that we can like.
I know mine.
We can discuss.
Yeah.
We can announce.
Yeah. So we'll announce it then. Hopefully. And I'm bombarding Amanda's live show with this, but it's fine. She can deal with it. Yeah. So see you guys, and thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.